And y'all are treating me, and this is my problem with this. I'm finna air out all my grievances.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Y'all are treating me like a criminal, like I did something. She was not in my care when all this went down. I'm dealing with the loss of my child.
I know.
And the gross negligence of Tallahassee Police Department.
Yeah.
The disgusting negligence of the department.
Yeah.
Could have potentially cost me the life of my child. And now y'all banging on my door 8-9 months later, asking me for my DNA.
We'll take all of that. Okay. They put brand new detectives on the case.
It's too late.
I hope that it's not, but it could be.
Because if I'm moving a child, y'all know how to do this. This is not. If I'm moving a child, I'm gonna move the child in 8 months. I'm not gonna wait for y'all to run down my house.
We don't think that you moved the child.
I'm not saying, but anybody that did, because there's an adult, there has to be an adult involved. She can't sustain herself this long. So whatever, thinking in their pattern, if I know that I have a child that the police are looking for, I'm not just gonna hold them. I'm gonna move them. I'm gonna hide them. I'm gonna.
Right.
Well, if you're thinking on the lines of placing the blame on us, then
not the blame. I'm not placing the blame on y'all.
I know.
How y'all handled it. It was mishandled. It was very mishandled.
Then you can be on the right side of this.
You can investigate everything. I'm on the right side of this thing. I'm
saying, there's no reason.
But I'm not entitled. I don't have to cooperate with y'all. I don't trust y'all.
Okay.
Well, one of the things is, so maternal DNA.
I know how it works. Okay. Mitochondrial DNA, baby. Trust me. I got it. Okay. I got a master's degree in this.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do.
And I'm saying that I want the case file. Y'all want what y'all want, but I can't get what I want. Because what's going to happen is that when these case files get lined up, this is going to look real stupid. And y'all, there's going to be a lot of holes to poke in why this didn't happen, why it should have happened.
Yeah. Okay. And
so if you want what you want and I want what I want, and this is how you get things done.
While speaking with Lori's mother, detectives are met with frustration. She expresses concerns about how the investigation has been handled, feeling that more could have been done in the early stages of the case. Despite this, investigators remain focused. They still need to understand Andrew.
I have to ask, your opinion. Could her father have done anything to her? Would he have?
I can't speak on that as a fact and say because I don't know. I don't think that he would have because I mean
that's what I'm asking. Your gut feeling. That's important to us.
She's been down there for summers and Christmas, so I don't think that he would hurt her. I really hope he wouldn't have.
And nothing happened while she was down there. No allegations of even any kind of abuse at all, or nothing like that.
Not that I am aware of, but He didn't talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
But I'm not going to say he didn't, but I don't.
Yeah.
I hope he wouldn't hurt her.
And we have no evidence that he did. I mean, forensics has went over his apartment with a fine-tooth comb.
And he's been helpful. He's actually provided a swab for his DNA as well.
He should. He was negligent.
Yeah.
Right.
This is his fault.
Nice. Now, I'll be honest. That will require us to take the device and bring it back to you in the morning, which is a pain. I know. And again, being completely honest, not trying to pull anything over on you. I mean, going above and beyond, trying to tell you exactly what we're doing. We weren't sure how you feel about that, so we did get an order of warrant signed by a judge that would allow us to take the phone, extract the stuff from it that we need, and then bring it back to you tomorrow. We don't want to keep the phone. We don't want to do anything. I don't want to deprive the phone because in this day and age, that iPhone it's everything, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to take it back to Tallahassee. We want to do that here, bring it back to you in the morning. Any video footage that you can upload to us, Jerry can show you how to do that real quick. It's not that hard. We'll do it. Just anything that you can think of that can help.
On June 3rd, 2023, a man called the Tallahassee Police Department to report his 12-year-old daughter missing. He said he had gone to work the previous night, and when he came home that morning, she was gone. He said she had done this before. He said she took her backpack with her. Officers responded, walked through the apartment, and found nothing immediately alarming. The case was logged. The flyers went out. For the next 22 months, investigators pursued hundreds of leads. They searched across 2 states. They obtained warrants, interviewed dozens of people, processed digital records, and organized multiple physical searches. The FBI got involved. Billboards went up. A community spent months combing parks and neighborhoods, distributing flyers and holding on to the hope that Lori Paige would simply come home. She never did. And the explanation that seemed so plausible on that first morning, that a troubled 12-year-old had walked out into the night with her backpack, would take nearly 2 years to finally collapse entirely.
Hey, you Mr. Wiley? Hey, I'm so sorry. Okay. So, do you remember what she was last wearing?
I left for work yesterday, so like I work at night.
So you work at night? Okay.
Yeah, she was
So
in bed.
who was she hanging out with whenever she ran off?
I don't know. I got off work. She not here.
Who was supposed to drop her off here? So you went to work last night,
So I
and
go
she
to
was
work.
here?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you came home, she was
wasn't.
gone?
Yeah.
Okay. Does she suffer from any like disabilities or anything like that?
I don't know. I'm just raising a child right now. Just
I hear you. Do you know of anywhere she might go? I know you said you don't know about her friends, but
first time when we got her, she went to an abandoned apartment.
I was there for
never,
that one.
I
I heard
would
of
never
that.
realize. Well, I don't know.
And then, are you okay, just for policy-wise, if I look in the house, make sure she's not hiding under anywhere?
You're watching Morbid True Crime, psychological true crime documentaries examining the evidence, decisions, and investigative process behind real criminal cases. Lori Annalise Paige was 12 years old when she was reported missing. She stood roughly 5 feet tall, had shoulder-length black locks, and brown eyes. By the accounts gathered by investigators over the weeks that followed, she was described as quiet and studious. People who knew her from Griffin Middle School remembered her that way. She wasn't a child who drew a lot of attention to herself. Her living situation had changed not long before her disappearance. At some point during the 2022-2023 school year, Lori's mother, Miranda White, relinquished custody to Lori's father, Andrew Wiley. What had started as a summer arrangement became permanent when White declined to take Lori back. Andrew Wiley enrolled Lori in Griffin Middle School, 3 weeks late, according to his own account, because gathering her records had taken time. From that point on, he was her sole custodian. He worked nights. She was, by multiple accounts, frequently left alone. It's worth understanding the shape of Lori's world, as investigators would later piece it together. She had lived in several places: Tennessee with her mother, then Tallahassee with her father. She had a grandmother, Brooklyn Paige, who lived nearby on Arkansas Street and who, by Wiley's account, Lori was close to. She had limited electronics. Her phone had been confiscated by her father for using it in class. The last time that phone was used to contact anyone was April 17, 2023, nearly 7 weeks before she was reported missing. Her school-issued Chromebook would later prove to have been wiped and reassigned. Her digital footprint, as investigators would discover, was almost non-existent. Lori Paige was a child with very few threads connecting her to the outside world. That fact, as the investigation progressed, would take on a significance no one initially anticipated. A month before Lori disappeared, she had already gone missing once. On May 8, 2023, she was reported absent after last being seen at Griffin Middle School. Officers searched and found her the following day in an abandoned apartment at 1001 Ocala Road. She had spent the night there with another juvenile. She was recovered safely. She came home. When Andrew Wiley called police on the morning of June 3rd, that prior incident shaped everything about how the initial response unfolded. Officers had a reference point. They had a prior case number. They had a location where she had been found before. The working assumption that Lori had run away again wasn't unreasonable, given what they knew. It was, in fact, exactly what Wiley told them. She had done this before, and she had come back. He described what she was wearing as unknown. He said she had taken her rainbow-colored backpack. He said she had been watching television when he left for his night shift around 11 p.m. on June 2nd. He said he returned home at 10 a.m. on June 3rd, and she was gone. Officers checked the apartment. They found no signs of a struggle, no signs of forced entry, nothing that suggested anything other than a child who had left on her own. They checked the prior runaway location on Ocala Road. They checked Griffin Middle School. They checked the home of Lori's grandmother. She wasn't at any of those locations. She was entered into the national and state missing persons databases. Detective Drake of the Special Victims Unit took the case, and the search began. The first few weeks moved quickly, and then they slowed. Detective Drake contacted Diamond Ivy, one of Lori's friends, on June 5th. Ivy hadn't heard from Lori since school ended for the summer, but she noted something important. Lori didn't have a cell phone anymore, and didn't have social media that could be accessed from a computer. Reaching out to her wasn't easy, even under normal circumstances. Detectives canvassed apartment complexes in the area. Flyers went to hotels, motels, and extended stay facilities across the city. Staff at the Dade Street Community Center confirmed that Lori used to come by after school, but hadn't been seen since the school year ended. A classmate who rode the bus with her, when questioned, said he didn't know where she was, but he believed she was still around the area. It wasn't a confirmed sighting. It wasn't much, but it was the kind of detail that could make investigators think a runaway was staying close. Detectives also looked at Pierre Donaldson, the individual with whom Lori had been found during the May runaway. The leasing office at the Ocala Road complex said Donaldson had moved. His family remained in the complex at a different unit. Donaldson was interviewed later in the investigation. No evidence connected him to her disappearance. By June 13th, Wiley's girlfriend, Simone Robinson, had been reached by phone. She was away in Louisiana for military training. She told investigators that Lori didn't use social media, but that she played Roblox and watched YouTube frequently. That detail opened a line of inquiry that would occupy detectives for months. On June 16th, after canvassing public transit depots and known areas associated with her prior runaway, detectives came up empty again. By June 19th, more than 2 weeks in, there had been no confirmed sightings, no physical evidence, and no response from Lori's mother to multiple phone calls. When detectives asked Wiley about dental records that might be used to identify Lori, he said he didn't know if she had ever seen a dentist. Multiple leads were called into the department over the following weeks. Each was investigated. Each was determined too unsubstantiated to pursue further. The investigation moved in the direction that the evidence pointed, which, in those early months, seemed to point everywhere and nowhere at once. Investigators pursued the possibility that Lori had gone to her grandmother's network of family contacts in Nashville, Tennessee. She had a history in that city. She had run away there before. Nashville Youth Services and the Runaway Bureau confirmed she had one prior runaway in Tennessee, after which she returned quickly. There was no indication she had returned there. The grandmother, Lori Paige, mentioned something else during her interview, that Lori had a fondness for a former boyfriend of her mother's, a man named Maurice Jones, who lived in Tampa. Detectives noted the information and attempted contact. They were unable to reach Jones. The investigation began to spread geographically. Lori's information was submitted to Florida's Missing Endangered Persons Information Clearinghouse and communicated to Tennessee. FBI involvement was formally established, and a reward of up to $15,000 was offered for information leading to Lori's recovery. The FBI noted that Lori had documented ties to or might be traveling through areas in Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. Missing person billboards went up in 3 states in early 2024. A teacher at Griffin Middle School, Margaret Summers, had become one of the central figures in the public search effort, organizing volunteers and helping sustain community attention on the case. A community member named Ferguson began distributing yard signs after the billboards were removed. 100 signs. He paid for them himself. That level of sustained community effort is worth noting, not as background texture, but as a factual marker. It reflects how little resolution the case had produced and for how long. The community was still looking because investigators had still found nothing. In July 2023, a breakthrough appeared on the digital front and then didn't quite materialize. Lori's mother, Miranda White, provided investigators with 2 Gmail addresses associated with Lori. Detectives submitted a search warrant to Google. The response came back by August 31st. The account had last been accessed on March 7, 2023. more than 2 months before Lori was even reported missing the second time. The email records showed Lori had corresponded only with her mother. There had been no communication with anyone since her disappearance. The account had been dormant for months before she vanished. But the records revealed something else. Lori had created accounts on a range of platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Reddit, YouTube, and several others, all under variations of the username Potato. Detectives submitted search warrants for each of those accounts. The results were consistent across the board. Each account had been activated. None had been used after activation. The school Chromebook, which had been Lori's primary connection to the internet during the school year, was another avenue investigators pursued. A request was made in late July 2023 for email records, search history, and messaging from the device. The response was not what detectives had hoped for. The computer had been reassigned and wiped. The records were unavailable. At every turn, the digital investigation produced the same result. Lori Paige had almost no sustained online presence, and what little she'd had gone completely silent months before she disappeared. In August 2023, 2 months into the investigation, Andrew Wiley allowed detectives to process his apartment using a bioluminescent compound, a chemical agent used to detect traces of blood, including residue not visible to the naked eye. It was a significant step. Wiley cooperated. The processing was conducted. No suspected blood evidence was located. Investigators were operating with limited confirmed information about what the relationship between Wiley and Lori actually looked like inside that apartment. What they had were statements, and those statements described in broad terms a father raising a child he barely knew. Wiley had not seen Lori regularly since she was 5 years old, when the family had lived together in Miami. She came to him in the summer of 2022 expecting to stay temporarily. She stayed permanently. He enrolled her in school, kept her largely supervised, and, by his own description, described her as a good child with minor behavioral issues. What the affidavit also captured was the emotional context of Lori's life in those months. When Miranda White had visited on May 25th, less than 2 weeks before Lori's final disappearance, the argument between mother and daughter had been significant. According to Wiley's account, Lori spent the hours after that visit pacing in her room, asking why her mother didn't love her. Wiley told investigators that Lori had previously expressed suicidal ideation after a phone call from her mother. He said she had been off after the May 25th visit. None of that confirmed anything about what had happened to her. What it offered, to investigators piecing together her state of mind, was a portrait of a child who had experienced significant emotional turbulence in the period immediately before she vanished. By the end of 2023, the search had produced no physical evidence, no confirmed sightings, no forensic leads. The investigation was still open. It was not moving. In January 2024, investigators made another attempt to reach Miranda White in Nashville. The mother had, by this point, resisted multiple requests for a DNA buccal swab, a routine step that would allow investigators to build a genetic profile for potential remains identification. 3 attempts had been made through the Nashville Metro Police Department. White had declined each time. On January 8, 2024, White posted on Facebook, "My baby is gone," accompanied by a broken heart emoji. She deleted it shortly afterward. When investigators asked about it, she said she meant Lori was not with her and that she knew in her soul Lori was dead. Detective Mrowiak traveled to Nashville with officers from the Nashville Metro Police Department and made contact with Miranda White and her wife, LaTonya White, at their residence. There were no signs that a 12-year-old child was living there. The other residents of the property confirmed they had never seen Lori. Nashville was eliminated as a location where Lori might be living.
I guess you had an appointment with Nashville PD and weren't able to make it for some reason, and you wanted to go ahead and do that now if you're able to.
And I've been asking CPD since the beginning for the files for this case. I'm not sure why y'all feel entitled to my cooperation, but y'all don't have to cooperate. Y'all are running down on
Okay,
people.
what files?
In all these, I want all the case files pertaining to Lori from the last case on this.
Sure. So
And just to give you kind of an update on what we've been doing since we got here, I mean, we're pulling out all the stops. I mean,
It's too late. You're pulling out all the stops too late.
We're just doing everything we can to try to get a feel for who she was and what might have happened, where she might be.
Y'all know the scenario, and she's likely no longer with us. Honestly speaking, y'all do this, y'all investigate this, you know how this goes.
That's possible.
It's likely.
It is likely.
And y'all are treating me, and this is my problem with this. I'm finna air out all my grievances since the show came in.
Go ahead.
Y'all are treating me like a criminal, like I did something. She was not in my care when all this went down. I'm dealing with the loss of my child. I know. And the gross negligence of Tallahassee Police Department.
Yeah.
The disgusting negligence of the department.
Yeah.
Could have potentially cost me the life of my child. And now y'all banging on my door 8-9 months later, asking me for my DNA.
We'll take all of that. Okay. They put brand new detectives on the case.
It's too late.
I hope that it's not, but it could be.
Because if I'm moving a child, y'all know how to do this. This is not. If I'm moving a child, I'm gonna move the child in 8 months. I'm not gonna wait for y'all to run down my house.
We don't think that you moved the child.
I'm not saying, but anybody that did, because there's an adult, there has to be an adult involved. She can't sustain herself this long. So whatever, thinking in their pattern, if I know that I have a child that the police are looking for, I'm not just going to hold them. I'm going to move them. I'm going to hide them. I'm going to...
Right.
Well, if you're thinking on the lines of placing the blame on us, then...
Not the blame. I'm not placing the blame on y'all.
I know.
How y'all handled it, it was mishandled. It was very mishandled.
Then you can be on the right side of this thing.
You can investigate everything. I'm on the right side of this thing. I'm
saying, there's no reason...
But I'm not entitled. I don't have to cooperate with y'all. I don't trust y'all.
Okay.
Well, one of the things is, so maternal DNA.
I know how it works. Okay. Mitochondrial DNA, baby. Trust me. I got it. Okay. I got a master's degree in this.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do.
And I'm saying that I want the case file. Y'all want what y'all want, but I can't get what I want. Because what's going to happen is that when these case files get lined up, this is going to look real stupid. And y'all, there's going to be a lot of holes to poke in why this didn't happen, why it should have happened.
Yeah. Okay. And
so if you want what you want and I want what I want, and this is how you get things done.
That same month, on January 31st, 2024, Detectives Megna and Collins drove to Thomasville, Georgia, where Andrew Wiley had relocated after Lori's disappearance, and interviewed him again. That January 2024 interview is documented in the probable cause affidavit in some detail. It is worth following carefully, not because it produced a confession, but because of what it contained and what it did not. Wiley was asked about anyone from the neighborhood he might have concerns about. He said he didn't know Lori's friends well. He referenced the first runaway incident, noted she'd reportedly slept in an abandoned building, though she was found at school. He was asked about medications. He said none were missing. He was asked about firearms. He said Lori showed no interest. He kept his secured, and it was accounted for. Wiley described the family situation plainly. He hadn't known Lori until she was 5, then hadn't seen her until she came to him in 2022. He described Miranda White as someone he didn't communicate with, whom he nonetheless believed capable of having taken Lori without his knowledge, his primary theory, he said, for where she might be. And then Detective Megna told Wiley something, that the homicide unit was now involved, and that the probability of finding Lori alive was not great. According to the affidavit, as that information was relayed to him, Andrew Wiley's demeanor did not change. He did not appear sad or concerned. When asked directly whether he had anything to do with Lori's disappearance or whether he had hurt her, he denied it. His demeanor, the detective noted, remained the same. Investigators said nothing more at that meeting about what they had already started to find. The phone seized from Wiley's residence on February 2, 2024, broke the case open. Not immediately, not with a single revelation, but gradually, as forensic analysis processed what was on it. The searches recovered from that device mapped a specific sequence on the day investigators would later allege Lori was killed. On June 1, 2023, 2 days before Wiley called police, the phone recorded searches beginning at 12:01 p.m. for directions to locations in Alabama and Georgia. Between 12:17 and 12:23 p.m., additional searches were conducted. Among them, Bad Neighborhood, Tallahassee, Florida. Apalachicola National Forest, dead body. Where do police look to find missing kids? Those searches taken in isolation could mean many things. In the context of what came next, they took on a different weight. In the early morning hours of June 2, 2023, more than a day before Wiley called police, the phone's location data began to tell a story. At 4:34 a.m., the device left the Tallahassee residence and traveled north, through the Frenchtown neighborhood, through East Tallahassee, through Monticello, Florida, and onto Boston Highway into Georgia. By 6:28 a.m., the phone was north of the Florida-Georgia state line. Between 6:53 and 7:01 a.m., the device stopped transmitting location data. When the signal resumed at 7:01 a.m., the phone was in a field near Mitchell Road in Thomas County, Georgia, in an area known locally as Merrily Plantation. By 7:17 a.m., the phone was traveling south again, back toward Florida. By 8:28 a.m., a license plate reader at Interstate 10 and North Monroe captured Wiley's vehicle. Later that same afternoon, June 2nd, the day before he would tell police his daughter had run away, Wiley called Priceline at 2:56 p.m. for 55 seconds. At 3:30 p.m., he purchased a one-way plane ticket to San Juan, Puerto Rico. His phone moved toward Jacksonville that evening. It reached the Jacksonville airport area between 6:59 and 7:20 p.m. Then it returned to Tallahassee. He did not board the flight. At 11 p.m. on June 2nd, according to the account Wiley would give police the following morning, he left for work, leaving Lori watching television. That phone data, combined with subsequent forensic analysis, led investigators back to the plantation in Thomas County. They had known about the area since early 2024. Multiple searches were conducted. The vegetation in that region was dense, heavily wooded, brush-covered, the kind of ground that resists even thorough searching. Each time investigators went in, they came out without a result. On April 5, 2025, a prescribed burn in the area cleared the brush. Detectives returned. In a wooded area off Mitchell Pond Road, they found human remains. The location was documented. Forensic analysis was submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. The remains were identified through DNA as those of Lori Paige. She had been there, investigators now believe, since June 2, 2023, within 30 meters of where Andrew Wiley's phone had pinged on June 1st. A subsequent analysis confirmed that Lori's blood was found on the passenger side carpet of Wiley's vehicle. Andrew Wiley was arrested on April 11, 2025, and charged with second-degree murder. He was held without bond. Police Chief Lawrence Revel addressed the community. Lori's teacher, Margaret Summers, who had spent nearly 2 years organizing searches and keeping Lori's face in front of the public, was left with a different kind of grief. Wiley appeared in court on April 12th. A case management conference was scheduled. Proceedings moved forward. Then, on June 19, 2025, Andrew Wiley died at the Leon County Detention Facility. The Leon County Sheriff's Office confirmed the preliminary cause of death as a pulmonary embolism, a blood clot in the lungs. He was 36 years old. He had been in custody for approximately 2 months. State Attorney Jack Campbell spoke publicly in the days that followed. He disclosed that evidence indicated Wiley had killed Lori following a sexual assault. Prosecutors believed, based on the evidence available, that the possible threat of a pregnancy becoming known may have served as the operative context for the killing. The exact circumstances of Lori's death, how she died, what her final hours contained, could not be determined from the remains. They were too degraded by the time they were recovered. The manner of her death remains officially undetermined. Campbell confirmed that Wiley's death in custody appeared to be natural. He had no reason to believe otherwise. The criminal case against Andrew Wiley was closed by his death, without a trial, without a verdict, without testimony. What investigators were left with, in the end, was a reconstruction. A 12-year-old child, left alone at night. A father who had searched for remote locations with bodies of water the afternoon before she vanished. A pre-dawn drive across the Florida-Georgia state line. A phone that went silent in a wooded field. A one-way ticket that was purchased and never used. a residence processed for blood that came back clean, and remains that were found 2 years later, 30 meters from where a phone had been. The explanation that held the case in place for 22 months, that Lori Paige had walked away with her backpack because she had done it before, was an explanation that investigators pursued carefully, thoroughly, and in good faith. Every lead was followed, every contact was made, every digital record was obtained, every alternative was examined and tested. One by one, they collapsed. What makes this case psychologically significant isn't the moment of resolution. It's the 22 months before it. It's the searches that turned up nothing. The digital accounts that were activated but never used. The dental records that found no match. The national database entries. The billboards. The yard signs a man made himself because he couldn't let a 12-year-old girl be forgotten. And at the center of all of it, from the beginning, was a father who had made those searches on his phone, driven that road before dawn, bought that ticket and come home, and then called police on a Tuesday morning to say his daughter had run away again. The investigation found her. It took nearly 2 years, a prescribed fire, and soil that eventually gave up what it had been holding. But it found her. Lori Annalise Paige was 12 years old. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crime, documentary investigations focused on evidence, behavior, and the investigative process behind real criminal cases. If you found this documentary valuable, please subscribe